Time for another edition of the virtual Indiana State Coaches Show, which is brought to you by 7th and Elm Bar and Grill. We are joined by, as we always are, each and every week, by Chad Killinger, head coach of Indiana State women's basketball, to start us off. And Coach K, last week we were talking about, well, when would you play again? Luckily, you were able to get at least one game in last week and now set up for, I know in terms of that NCAA calendar, you may only have 2 games this week, but you'll have 3 games up through Sunday before you get going again next week. So you go from having some time where you're just maybe practicing with 4 players to now all of a sudden having to crunch everything in here in a short amount of time.
Yeah. Well, it's, you got to do what you got to do. But we'll have 3 games in 5 days. I know our kids are up for the task. I mean, they're going to show up and play hard and do everything we can to try to win as many of these games as we can.
I felt you, after the game, put it perfectly on Saturday against Missouri State, where there are no moral victories, and you're a guy, when you lose you get beat. There's there's no worse feeling than that. But the circumstances obviously surrounding this week for your team, the lack of practice time, and also knowing the respect you have for your opponent on how good Missouri State is, you're in a tie game with them with 2 minutes to go and had your chances to win. I know you didn't get the job done, but at the same standpoint, you got to be proud of what your team was able to do on Saturday.
Yeah, definitely. I think, I think the first quarter was really kind of more a product of trying to get back out there and kind of get our feet back underneath us. Had that one practice on Friday, and even that one we had 9 people in that practice, and we're still missing Nani for that game. So obviously she's really come a long way since she's got here. Doing some really good things around the basket, and we out rebounded them, but I think she could have helped us a little bit more with that in that regard. And Maya played 37 minutes coming out of quarantine in one practice, and whether people believe it or not, I don't like having kids in that situation and putting her in that situation. We got to get some production from some other people in some other areas, as far as that's concerned. But I don't like when our kids play as many minutes as they did, on that day. And for a variety of reasons, we had some different kids were in foul trouble and things of that nature. So we had to kind of maneuver some different things. And, definitely proud of the effort, proud to have competed the way we did, but at the same time, it's, just disappointing that you're in a position to possibly win. And, just knowing that, that slow start we had was really kind of our downfall. That run they made, it was 7-7, then it was 17-7. So, that one run kind of cost us, but if you go back and look at the game, I mean, there's a lot of different possessions, that if we'd have been a little better, 3 or 4 of those possessions, then, maybe the outcome's a little bit different. And, I waited a little too long to send Berger off that screen, at the end of the first half. But at the same time, I'd rather that had happened than we take a shot, miss it, and they go get something in transition or get, I was happy with going in. It's kind of like taking a knee, I guess.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have tried to score like the Chiefs did. I'd have kicked the field goal.
Just got to rub that into the Chiefs faithful here after Sunday.
Yeah. I said, I was kind of joking about, as a longtime Bengals fan, until the Colts moved from Baltimore, the first 14 years of my life, I was a Bengals fan. And so I was kind of hoping for that rematch, between the Bengals and the 49ers, but, I like what the Rams are doing. And I like Matthew Stafford. He's
almost got it. Very close to getting that rematch.
35 years. No, probably longer than that.
I asked you before we got on, I know sometimes in the moment, especially right after games, you don't maybe sometimes those games you think you played really well, you go back and you watch the film, you're like, man, there's a lot to clean up. Maybe there's games that you feel like you play horribly in the moment, and you go back and watch, you're like, man, we played a little bit better than I thought we did. How did you feel when you went back and you rewatched the film, understanding effort and things of execution that you wanted to see from Saturday's game?
Well, I was a little, I don't say disappointed, but given the circumstances, I think we did about everything we could. We missed some shots around the rim. There was ways we wanted to attack them that maybe we didn't execute quite as well. They did some things different against us than they had against some other opponents with some of the things they switched defensively. But I mean, the effort was good. I think defensively we had a couple breakdowns that led to some open threes for them. The teams are very similar in terms of our approach. I mean, we've had some games where we've shot, 19 or 23s. That's not typically, our game, so to speak. We're trying to score in the paint. But really, we're just trying to get everybody to play their strengths. So if someone's not a strong 3-point shooter, that kid understanding that they don't need to shoot a ton of threes, that's not a bad thing. So I give our kids a lot of credit typically because the right people are taking the right shots in the right time and in the right rhythm. And we got away from that a little bit, but you got to give Missouri State some credit for that. I mean, they're a physical team. We didn't back down from that physicality, obviously, but in fact, like we talked about, we out rebounded them. Didn't get the steals. The one thing I think maybe I don't want to say we could have done differently, but I think with a little bit of our emphasis on keeping the ball out of the post, that maybe we weren't out aggressive enough defensively where we created some turnovers. I mean, you got two teams that are tops in the league in terms of turnovers forced, and we had 14 and they had 13, I think, or they had 13 and we had 14 or something. I mean, something that was really low. Like two teams maybe combined for 27 turnovers, and we've had games where we forced 27 turnovers. So
for 30.
Yeah. And so with that being the case, I mean, maybe our aggressiveness wasn't quite where it needed to be from a defensive standpoint to create some easier scoring opportunities. But again, both teams took care of the ball. And so it was a very interesting game to kind of go back and watch and, just see that big run they're on and some of the mistakes we were making during that run. And I think that was kind of that moment when, I don't say we hit the wall, but we had needed to get our second win. And I think that was kind of when they made that run. So we'll get back at it today, this afternoon, and practice today, obviously, and then head out to Northern Iowa. But it's it'll be nice to have 10 people in practice.
Yeah, I know it's something really for a long time. You've really not been able to reach that plateau in terms of your preparation. I know how important that is for you. You brought up to me on the post game show. Don't necessarily want to totally rehash it, but when Nat makes that three around the 2-minute mark to tie the game up at 52, your reaction with your team was, "Hey, we haven't won this game yet. We still got 2 minutes to go."
Yeah, we celebrated a lot, which is good. I mean, you want that energy
for your team.
Yeah, you want that energy. I mean, you want them to have that. I mean, I want our kids to be loose before games. I want them to do what they need to do to get prepared to play. I walked in the locker room and saw a lot of stern looks on their faces, and I'm like, golly, this isn't us, And there's a fine line between what's, not focused and what you need to do to prepare to play. And again, that's different for each individual on the team and for every coach even or whatever. And so I mean, when they came back in the second time, I mean, I was trying to make them relax and laugh and joke about some things and everything. So but I don't think it was a case of where we celebrated too early. Like I want to see that excitement. I don't think it cost us on any of those other possessions. I mean, you had to, one person got stuck. We threw something different at them defensively there at the end and didn't quite execute what we needed to do. And they scored and then got caught behind in the paint and they scored. So they got some easy baskets against us, but we got some easy baskets, against them as well.
How huge is Maya, especially when you can get Nani back? I know Nani's been such a big part, as you mentioned earlier in one of your answers, but especially what Maya was able to do on such a short turnaround. How good can she be? What do you see as her ceiling with your group?
Well, that's going to come down to her and what, and the work she puts in. She needs to expand her game a little bit to really be consistent with that mid-range jump shot. She knocked one down against Missouri State. She's a little undersized to be playing kind of that center position, but she goes in there and battles. She's got good strength. She's an incredible athlete, and And I think just as she continues to kind of refine herself offensively, I think it'll be interesting to see kind of how she continues to grow. But she's got a chance to be a kid that, we run some stuff for her now to try to get her touches on the block, just because we have confidence in her being able to score down there. But after that, having that layoff and then coming back, I mean, that was a tough, getting a tough position to put her in. But she's facing 6'3" kids. So the hope is that you get bigger in other areas, so you can kind of slide her to kind of that other forward spot. And then that would help her in terms of her matchups and what we can do with her from the offensive side of things. But she's grown leaps and bounds, just in the short time we've been here. And a lot of that's just confidence, I think, and putting in the work that she has so far. But there's still a lot of work to be done.
Well, let's look at your week. We'll just start with the first and most important part of your trip, and that's the start of it with UNI on Wednesday. Of course, this was a game that you were supposed to play back towards the start of the new year, but with all the COVID parameters that UNI was going through, and obviously the scheduling of the league, this is where the game gets put. What has stood out about UNI right now? 5-2 in the league. Coach Warren, I know, is the tenured coach in this league, and what she's done. It always seems like you can count on UNI being in the upper half of the league and being in there to compete for the championship. What about her team stands out this year from what you've seen in preparation, Coach K?
Well, I feel like, the film I've watched at this point, it's not like Drake, just in terms of like the motion that they run, the 5-out stuff. So you put your big kids in some different positions from a defensive standpoint that we work on those things. They don't always carry over. They get used to, Maya is going to go from battling in the post to like having to play on the perimeter some and be ready to challenge someone that's going to shoot some threes. And, they shoot the ball pretty well from the 3-point line. Obviously they average, I think maybe second most 3-pointers made in the conference. And so we got to do a good job of defending that 3-point line, but they put the ball on the floor and they're pretty crafty with it when they do. We just got to make sure we, are challenging shots and rebounding and trying to get out and run in transition. They do a great job of filling lanes and especially their big kids of running and getting to the rim early in a possession. And so if we can take some of those things away and just make them have to work, for what they do get. I don't think there's like a point total that you're trying to hold anybody to or anything like that. But I feel like we can do some good things against them as well offensively.
Coach K, good luck this week. I know it's going to be a long week on the road, being on the road from Tuesday through Sunday. But as you know, you enjoy being around this group. I know you really try to make it fun. And look, you get to play 3 games. But I'm sure that's a part of it too, to make sure that your group's loose and have some fun here on the road for this long week.
Yeah, and it's the interesting thing about it is I want to say like it doesn't matter, but this first game we blocked off the season. We've talked about maybe a little bit to where this game actually falls in our first 5 games, and at that point we wanted to be 2-3 in that first 5 games. And I know people may be like, well, that's a losing record, but with what we're trying to accomplish and what we're trying to make our kids see and be competitive with, we wanted to be 2-3 in that first 5. We wanted to go 2-2 in the second 4, 3-2 in that third one, and 2-2 in the last one. That would put us at 9-9, and we're already ahead of that first block. So not going to put we're not going to put any pressure on ourselves in terms of these games. We're going to go and compete and kind of understand what they understand that this game goes in that first block. So if we do come up short, we're still ahead of where we're quote unquote supposed to be from those block standpoints. And then it gets really weird because Bradley and Illinois State are in that block with Southern and Missouri State, and then you got the Southern game is next week, and then the Loyola game, which is in a different one of those blocks that we've talked about, is the week after that. So I want to make sure our kids stay focused on what our goals are and what we're trying to do, and each game is going to bring a different challenge, but we're looking forward to it.
Coach K, I already told John Sherman, who will be on the call on Wednesday. He's in charge of getting the first of what should be 2 Sycamore wins on Wednesday.
John might be driving the bus before we know what's going on.
Well, I think he may be the pilot for your chartered flight on Tuesday.
We're looking forward to that flight. I don't think, it'll be a great experience. I don't think many of our girls have done that. Being in East Carolina, we chartered some flights there. So again, just, appreciate our administration, understanding our situation and helping us out with improving that. And like we mentioned on Saturday, it's a good thing I'm a penny pincher, so we should be able to cover the costs.
Coach K, go get him this week. Be safe on your travels. I know with the snowstorm coming out, it seems like here through the Midwest, it should make your travel maybe somewhat a little interesting as we go throughout the week. But stay safe and have a great week.
We're just trying to figure out if something happens and one of these games can't be played, where they're going to put that on the schedule.
Well, that's just the fun part of going throughout the season.
All right.
Thanks, Coach K. Appreciate it.
We'll see you. Thank you.
Once again, that was Coach Killinger here on our first segment. When we take a break, we'll come back and close it out with head coach Josh Schertz on the men's side for Indiana State. This is the Indiana State Coaches Show, brought to you by 7th and Elm Bar and Grill on 105.5 The Legend. Welcome back to the Indiana State Coaches Show, which is brought to you by our friends at 7th and Elm Bar and Grill. We are still virtual this week. But you can still, of course, go to all of our friends there at 7th and Elm throughout the week whenever you have those needs, or especially before and after a Sycamore game like we will have this Wednesday night, as Indiana State will welcome in the Drake Bulldogs, who are the preseason favorite and now find themselves at the top of the league standings. Here to talk about that game and also recap the week that was head coach Josh Schertz, who joins us now. Coach, thanks so much for the time. I know it was a week that started really well with that huge positive win against Missouri State. And then yesterday on Sunday was really the first Valley game that you really didn't have a chance to win in the closing stretch. And I think that is probably what was most disappointing for you guys, because you play one of your best games early on in the week and just unfortunately just couldn't get things together on Sunday against Bradley.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, had a big win, Tuesday, and I thought, played exceptionally well. And beat a really good Missouri State team, which I think, was a potential NCAA tournament team, and did a lot of good things. Certainly, to get a big lead, and then we made things obviously much more interesting than they should have been down the stretch. Some bad basketball on both ends, and but we found a way through. Made a big play at the end there. Caleb's block and Henry with the rebound, 2 big free throws to ice it, and again beat an outstanding team, and then went to play Bradley, and we knew they were going to be really focused and locked into us. I think they at times teams may not be as locked in or attentive when you're playing a team that look at records, and players have a tendency to do that, but we knew we were going to get Bradley's full attention, their best shot, and came in and I thought, played. It's always weird, you watch film. I thought, we played really poorly live. Watch it on film, it wasn't quite, and sometimes you think you play really well. The first time we played Bradley, I was like, man, we played really well, and went back watching film. I was like, God, we did a lot of bad things. We won the game, but man, it was somewhat of them just missing shots, and then we made a couple of tough ones, and and of course you look at the result, but it wasn't quite as bad when I went back and watched it. In terms of offensively, we did generate some good shots. We didn't make them. Now Bradley's a great defensive team, and we turned the ball over way too much. We had some really poor possessions, but our good play percentage was in the mid 60s, which was honestly a little higher than the first time we played Bradley. And that's, generating quality shots, or what we deem to be quality shots. We just, we turned the ball over too much. And then when we did get good looks, they didn't go in. And so, but, end of the day, the things that we have to do to be successful against a team like Bradley, we have to defensive rebound the basketball. First game, we didn't either. They beat us up on the boards worse. In game 1, they got 15 offensive rebounds. They got 11 yesterday. The difference in game 1 and yesterday was we made 15 threes in game 1. We made, 15 threes. We made 5 yesterday. And not as simplified as that. Bradley did a better job guarding us. I thought they helped less. I thought they made us finish more plays at the rim. I thought, we had some poor rim decisions where we got shots blocked, and they made some great plays and blocked them. But end of the day, we have to be better at the things that we can control, and there's things we can do at a much higher level. There was a number of offensive rebounds where we just didn't check out. And they only got 10 points on those, but those are 10 huge points, and they honestly generated a few wide open threes they just missed, and it could have been much worse. I mean, had they made a couple of those, that game, goes from whatever their high lead was, 18 or 19 to 30. And that's where, we've got to be cleaner and more disciplined in the small things that are going to allow us to give us a chance to compete.
Mast got in a lot of foul trouble, the first time in the meeting between these two teams. Yesterday, of course, was a huge factor in that game. He's been playing well, and we talked about him in our pregame conversation heading into the game. What did I don't want to say what he did differently, but how much do you feel the credit was to him and also just Bradley executing what they did well more than necessarily maybe you guys not executing, if that makes sense? Give credit to what they were able to do and accomplish, because Bradley has been playing honestly probably as well as anybody outside of Drake right now in the league.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you look at them, I mean, they go to Drake and win double digits, beat Drake at Drake by 12, beat Valpo at Valpo by 17. I mean, they're, not just beating people in the league, but pretty handily. And, and it's a combination of, I think I told you before we played them the first time, way back, that I really, really liked their team. Thought they had, they were really good offensively, and their defense is just, the quickness and length they provide. Mast and Leones and Roberts is outstanding defensively as a point guard, and and Kent 6'7", and they're big and long. They slide. They make things really hard. They got their hands on and deflected a lot of balls that normally we can get in that we couldn't, and they erased some plays at the rim that we normally get that they took away. 4 or 5 layups that normally we get, and their length erased them. Similar to what Purdue did to us, at Purdue. So. Mast, we came in the game knowing, I mean, he's been the biggest difference for them from, January 2nd to January 30th has been his production. He had 5 and 3 here. Like you said, I think was in foul trouble, and had really struggled early in the year, and they had struggled some. In the last 7 games, he's been averaging 18 and 8. He was 20 and 14 yesterday. I thought, we made him, do some things that we were going to live with. I mean, he made 4, I think, or 5 pretty tough jump hooks, over the top of defense. We went to a smaller lineup to go and make ourselves switchable. We were able to switch a lot of stuff. We wanted to do that to try to, keep bodies in front of them and not give Mast the pick and pop threes that he's been drilling. He's been shooting 45% from 3 the last 7 or 8 games. He didn't make a 3 against us. He made a long 2. But, we were going to try to take some of that away. But he hurt us inside, hurt us on the offensive glass. Got a couple opportunities, and then I thought he took advantage of some post-ups. He got in there against Henry, made one where we didn't get a great contest on it. The couple he made over the top of Calix Simon, those are, I think, you tip your cap to those. Post-ups in general are the lowest efficiency play, lowest percentage play. But he made some really, really tough jump hooks, 4 or 5 of them. And then, like I said, hurt us on the glass, and he's playing at a high level. And the thing we didn't want to do was give him, rim rolls and threes and those post ups. We said, hey, we're going to try to take away the rim rolls, take away the threes, and we're going to live with playing them in the post 1-on-1, which we did. And but he just made us pay. And credit, tip your cap to him. I mean, you have to give, you're going to give some things. I didn't think our half court defense was a big issue. If you look at it, they scored 0.93 points of possession, which is their 3rd lowest of the year. And that was with us giving them 10 points on offensive rebounds and 6 points on above the break turnovers. So really 16 points that we, and then we fouled them some at the end there. Our half court defense, honestly, first shot defense was fairly good. It was everything after that. But our job on Mast, obviously you always want to do better, but the shots he made are shots we were kind of, going to roll the dice with.
I felt one of the other things we talked about, not officially on air, but one of the things I was chatting with you in your office was how key Zach Hobbs has been really during this stretch for you. And when it seems like he's making his shots, man, you guys just play better as a team. And man, unfortunately for Zach on Sunday, 0 for 6, all of his 3-point shots. And one specifically I thought would have been huge is when you guys cut it to 10, you're going on a little bit of a run and he gets a really good look, would have made it a 7-point game and the momentum rolled. Just unfortunately the shot didn't fall down and Bradley was able to build back onto the lead. I know it doesn't worry you. You really have tipped the cap to what Zach has done on the defensive side to really improve lately. But do you agree with me in that assessment of, man, it really seems like when those shots are falling for Zach at those key times, one, that probably flips that game a little bit on Sunday, but two, when he's making your shots or when he's making his shots, it does just seem everything flows much better for you guys as a team.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's a guy that you put right up there as, our best shooter, him, Micah, I think Coop, obviously, but Hobbs, you can make a case, is maybe our best because he gets it off so quick. He's a more aggressive 3-point shooter than the other guys. I'd never worry about Hobbs turning down an open look. He's going to get it off. And I know exactly what you're talking about. We cut it to 10. He got a wide open 3 on the right wing, right in front of our bench. Looked good and hit the back iron and kicked out, and that cuts it to 7. It doesn't mean the game turns, but then he got another look in that same stretch. That was a pretty good look as well, and that didn't go in. There was, I think, he had 2 pretty clean looks in 3 possessions, and they just were online, didn't go in. But yeah, I agree with you. I mean, when he's making shots, I think he's an X factor for us. And that's on us too. I mean, the key is, for obviously, we're not going to score a ton of points in the post. I'm not giving away state secrets. We're not.
Slow down, Coach. Don't be. I know Darren DeVries is listening right now, and you're just really getting them off for Wednesday.
He was shocked to learn that we're not an elite low post team. So we don't have a rink master in there or a Gage Prim to throw it to that we're going to put a lot of pressure in there. So for us, we have to rely on some with Jabo, and dribble downs, occasionally Calix, or guys that can put some pressure there. And then we got to rely on our cutting and our movement. We're not a great isolation team. Henry in certain situations can isolate, but you take him out. I mean, there's not the guy that you think, that's not what Micah does well. Micah plays off ball screen to the guys, off ball movement. So all that said, we have to get a lot of our offense off our cutting, our movement, and then generating spot threes and manipulating the defense to do that. And then we got to make those spot threes. I don't think it's coincidental. Our 2 conference wins, we made 15 threes against Bradley and 14 threes against Missouri State. I mean, that's a big part of what we're going to do. Shots have to fall for us to be successful, because offensively it's hard for us to score. If we're generating those looks, we don't have a lot of other ways to go to. There's a lot of ways to put the ball in the basket. Obviously, you can post it, you can drive it, but when those aren't really viable options for you, then you have to figure out other ways to score. And so, we just, the defensive end has been actually, people would think it's the other way around, but I think we're the 3rd ranked defense efficiency wise in the Missouri Valley. People look at points per game, but it's really just points per possession. And we're 3rd in the Valley behind Bradley and Loyola defensively. We're 9th offensively, and our offensive numbers are higher because we play fast. But we've got to be more efficient, and that's where it goes to, our ability to take care of the ball and our ability, because if we're going to struggle shooting, then the key is to get more shots and make sure we're maximizing every possession. I thought we had a couple, and by a couple I mean 5 or 6 what I would call shooting turnovers, some shots where we just took some bad ones that we didn't really work the defense at all and just kind of settled early in the clock. And then we had the 15 real turnovers. So too many wasted possessions. And then when you don't shoot the ball well, when Hobbs or guys we're counting on to make shots don't make shots, then it compounds. That's how you get to 52 points. And that's not enough to win against a team like Bradley. You got to get that number up, or when you get the number up, not by maybe even making shots, because we didn't make a 3 in the second half. We scored 29 points. We scored 23 points in the first half, made 5 threes. The differentiator was the turnovers. We turned it over 11 times in half one, 4 times in half two. It's not necessarily you're going to shoot the ball great to win, but you can't shoot it poorly and turn it over a lot. Like, that's a recipe for disaster. You're going to shoot it poorly, maximize your possessions, get as many as you can, get quality shots, keep grinding it. And, if 2 or 3 threes go down, we score 38 points in that half, 35 points in that half. and on a half where we're not, playing great offense and against a great defense. You can do it, but you got to be cleaner, and we weren't. And so Hobbs and our team in general, he kind of gets us going there from the 3-point line. We need to be better, and we weren't. And but I have all the faith in the world in Zach. I know he's gonna, bounce back, and he'll be in the gym, he'll be working, and he'll hopefully bounce back and shoot it great again Wednesday night.
We'll talk about the Bulldogs in a moment. I know we talked about the frustrating of the end on Sunday with Bradley, but I know it was a really special weekend for you, Coach Schertz, as you were able to get some support from your previous school, Lincoln Memorial, to allow you. I know Cam Henry and Jabo both were able to go back to Harrogate for a very special weekend to honor Dorian Pinson, who was a player of yours, retired his number. I know tragically lost his life way too soon. I know there's many questions and many ways I can phrase the question to you, but what did Dorian mean to you, and also what it meant to you to have the support from the Rail Splitter family to get you there and to get all of you also back to Peoria, to where in basically about 7 hours on Saturday, you went from Terre Haute to Harrogate back to Peoria, and really it seemed like no issues there in terms of your travel.
No, I mean, well, obviously, incredibly sad day, but what a celebration of a guy that Dorian was. It's such an interesting thing. He's obviously an All-American at LMU, and when he came in with Emmanuel Terry, those guys came in together in a recruiting class, and we were a really good program, but we had kind of bumped our head. We won a bunch of regular season titles, kept bumping our head early in the NCAA tournament. Couldn't get past the second round. And, he came in, and Emmanuel was so talented. Dorian was a lot like Jabo, where he wasn't the greatest athlete, relied on his intelligence, but he was just, to coach him for 4 years, like I've said it many times, like he was the best leader I've ever been around. He was a great player. He was a better winner than player, and a better teammate than he was winner. Like, he just infused the whole program with a sense of toughness, and he had an amazing ability to hold people accountable and have incredibly high standards for how he competed and how he played, and also have unbelievable levels of compassion and empathy, and put his arms around people and lift them up when they needed it. And he infused our whole team with that. And he was a guy that it wasn't coincidental that we broke through, when he was there. He's saw that kid go through incredible tragedy, had a variety of things happen to him off the court. And then remember, his junior year, he tears his meniscus in a game. He gets a triple-double. He tore it in the first half, goes out, finishes the game against our rival, the triple-double. Told him, I said, you look like you're, knee. And anyway, he goes back and tears his meniscus, stays out for, I think, a month. He came back in 10 days. And his first game back, steps on a guy's foot, breaks his foot, comes back in the game because we didn't know it was broken at the time, tries to play on the broken foot. And I remember him getting the news, and it was a season-ending injury, and it was in the end of January. And I've never seen somebody cry harder than he did when his season ended. And so then watch him turn around the next day and become like the greatest student assistant of all time coach was just remarkable, and just put it behind him. And then the next year, I got really sick. They didn't know what was wrong with me. I was back and forth to Mayo Clinic in Rochester. And I mean, we had this really good team, and shows how good a coach I am. I couldn't even barely get out of bed. I'd come to practice and go home. That was it. I couldn't do anything else. I'd go to games, practice, watch film in my bed. And we were 32-1 going to the regional championship. And he coached that team. I mean, he absolutely led it. I was of no help. He took it, and we went 126-14 in his 4 years. And that's, he was just a guy that loved life, had an unbelievable zest for life. You saw we had 20 former players back or more. We had people all over the world, from his teammates that are playing professionally in on that video to tribute to him and his family. And I think they had 67 people on a bus come up from, Greenville, South Carolina. So it was an amazing day. And then LMU, I mean, that place will always have my heart. It's just It's an incredible, place, and the people are what make a place, and for them to make it possible for myself and Cam and Jabo and Ascenda, a private plane up to Terre Haute to literally pick us up. We walked off the floor at practice at 1:15. We were on the plane at 1:35, 1:40, landed in Tazewell. They had a car there to get us, got us back to the game, went and watched the game ceremony, took us back to the airport, flew us to Peoria. And like you said, we were, I think, from practice, that whole thing took 7 hours. And for them to make that possible, for me to be there, for those guys to be there, it just shows like what a special place it is, and why I'm always so incredibly grateful that I get to be the coach there, and those relationships will go on forever, man. That's a really special place, always will be, and it's just awesome to be back around his family and all our former players, and honor what was an amazing career.
Yeah, but I know not only was or LMU still special to you, but I know Dorian was extremely special to you, and I know that's why I wanted to make sure to ask about your trip and how much that meant to you this weekend. Let's go ahead and end here on Drake. Of course,
Yep.
preseason pick to win the league. Now they're tied. They beat Loyola over the weekend, so they're tied for first right there with the Ramblers. Tucker DeVries, the son of Darren, has been a huge asset to their program, mixing in with guys that we know so much about, such as a Roman Penn and Tank Hemphill. Uh, we knew that Mosley and Prim, in terms of an offensive presence, would be big challenges, but do you feel Drake has maybe more balanced of an offensive tack and more guys you have to worry about in terms of their capability to shoot, more than maybe necessarily of a Mosley and Prim and Black for Missouri State?
Yeah, I think you look at Drake, they're much more like a Loyola in the sense that the amount of weapons they have, the offense is pretty well dispersed, well distributed, right? I mean, DeVries is certainly the go-to guy, but Penn's outstanding. They've got studs. I mean, they just up and down the roster. I mean, he comes in and does all the glue stuff, rebounds, leads. I think he's 6'3" and leads the league in rebounding, or is right there with Prim in rebounding, and makes toughness plays. They can come off with Bodie and go big. They have the ability to go small. Wilkins. I mean, it's up and down that roster. The amount of ways they can attack you. They're not in first place by accident. I mean, they're the oldest team in the country in terms of age, and you can watch them, and they are a team of grown men. And the thing I admire most about them, honestly, obviously they're really good, but is just how tough they are, how gritty they are, how mentally tough they are. They just have a tremendous belief in themselves and what they're doing. And I think they've won 3 games by 1 point in the league, and I think another 1 or 2 in overtime, maybe. I mean, they've had very few where they've just come in and just steamrolled people. But I've found, they're down 10 to Northern Iowa late, and boom, they're in overtime and they win, and they're down and they find a way. They've won by 1 at Evansville, win in overtime in Northern Iowa, 1 by 1. I mean, they've just found ways to win games, and it's been really, really impressive. I mean, really impressive. And they grind it out. They had a huge win yesterday over Loyola. They've got really good offensive balance. They can play small and play with really 5 guards out there, and they do that. And then they'll play some with the big fella in there, with Bodie in there. And then defensively, they can give you different looks. They can switch everything. They can play some drop coverages. They present different challenges, but they're balanced offensively, very sound defensively. And then I just think the thing that stands out on top of all that is just how tough they are. They play with great physicality and great force offensively. It's not some sort of intricate, offensive system. They're going to put their shoulders down, and they're going to drive you, and they're going to get the ball up, and they're going to go after every offensive rebound. And on the defensive end, they're going to get in you. They're going to be physical. They're going to be tough. They're going to check you out. And then, they're a little bit like Freddy Krueger. You can't kill them. So they just keep coming. And so you think, oh man, and they have that belief, and that goes back to having guys in there, with the exception of Tucker, that are really experienced, a lot like Loyola. They've won a lot of games, and you can't discount that experience of winning and understanding what it takes to win. And they have that. So incredible challenge for us. Every game in this league is difficult. Drake is right there at the top, and they're a tough matchup for us in general because I thought Bradley's very physical. I thought Bradley and Drake, to me, are the two most physical teams in our league. That's an area of really significant growth for us, and we better have some improvement in that area between now and Wednesday for us to have a chance against them, because they're gonna test us there for sure.
Coach, I know we'll have more time to talk about the Bulldogs over the next couple of days. We'll end it here. Appreciate the time as always, and good luck on Wednesday against Drake.
Appreciate it, Luke. Thanks so much. I'll see you tomorrow.
Once again, that was head coach Josh Schertz joining us here on the 7th and Elm Bar and Grill Indiana State Coaches Show for Chad Killinger, who joined us to start us off, talking about Indiana State women's basketball. For the coach Josh Schertz, I am Luke Martin saying so long. We will catch up with you on Wednesday night from Pullman Center. This has been the Indiana State Coaches Show presented by 7th and Elm Bar and Grill on 105.5 The Legend.